let's move on to now our apple caramel vanilla. This is sort of the marquee extract. This was the extract that we put like in the event. The picture is this one. This is the one. This is the event that we've all been waiting for. Coming in this corner, weighing in at 8 ounces.
Okay.
Dehydrated strawberries. Strawberries, apples. Okay, here we go. Back. So page 102, The Art of Extract Making, caramel vanilla extract. One of our faves. Apple caramel vanilla extract. I left the apple out again. That's twice.
It's okay.
I'm working on it.
No one's counting.
Apple caramel vanilla extract. Here we go.
This is fun because, we are in the middle of apple season. Apples are everywhere. We have 2 apple trees. I cannot keep on top of them. I keep dropping them off at people's houses.
Yeah, lock your car if you live near us because you're going to get apples in your backseat.
Yeah. Season, and in October around Halloween, you just think of caramel apples and dipping your apples in caramel. It's the perfect time to make this.
Yes.
So, and it's really quite easy. We are going to start with 1/2 ounce of our Papua New Guinea beans. This has got that light, fruity undertone, in addition to that buttery creaminess of vanilla that we love.
And these are the Papua New Guinea V. tahitensis vanilla beans. We call them karimas, but that's what these are versus the planifolia because they're a little lighter, more fruity undertones. They work really well with apples.
Yeah. So we are going, and it's just 1/2 ounce. So we want to make sure that you're going to weigh these, right? I pre-weighed them, but you guys know that don't just count 3 beans because that not all 3 beans are equal. So remember to always measure your beans. Okay, so I am gonna just cut these down the middle. I'm just going to take the tip off like my friend Ladon showed me.
We're using the seam ripper this time. The seam ripper's coming back.
Yeah, so I think it was that, or maybe it was Lori.
Ladon, I remember, taught us the seam ripper.
Ladon gave me the seam ripper.
Exactly. Look at that.
I didn't do it exactly right. Oh my gosh, you guys, look at all.
That was a packed full bean. Holy cow.
That.
I mean, it fell all over the cutting board. Yes, that one was fully loaded with caviar. Don't you love that? So that was
so easily when I did it earlier.
I know. We are trained professionals. Do not try this at home unless you're trying this at home.
See how I never sew anymore, so I love to get that seam ripper out because when I used it with sewing, it was not a good thing.
Hey, you were sewing last night.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, we're getting ready for our Black Magic party that's coming up next week. So it's going to be lots of fun.
I have little ghost seat covers that I have in a cupboard I haven't used in years, and I'm just fixing some of them, mending them to put on the chair. So it's going to be so fun.
It is going to be fun. We're excited. That's next Tuesday. That's another topic for another time.
Okay, so
you're cutting them up after you sliced them
because I want them to fit nicely in the bottom of this jar. This is a pint-sized jar. You need to get a bigger jar. It's nice to have the wider mouth, especially since I have these bigger ingredients. It's just gonna be easier to put them all in. So I've got my 1/2 of Papua New Guinea vanilla beans. And then the next thing is my dried apples. And the recipe calls for 1/2 cup. So I'm just gonna kind of push them down. This is kind of like a rudimentary, I'm going to push them down kind of like you do, brown sugar tight. But if you're wondering the measurement, it's around 46 grams. And I filled it twice just to kind of get the idea of how close I was to it. And each time it was 46 grams. So if that's helpful, just kind of to the top, or you can just weigh them.
Yeah. And should we talk about the apples while you're doing that?
Yes, these are not freeze-dried apples. They are dehydrated apples.
Yep. And so the reason that we went with dehydrated on this, so one, dehydrated is still dry, but they're not as crackly as freeze-dry. And for those of you that were with us and you saw us do like our pineapple extract that we did with freeze-dried pineapples, they really absorb the alcohol. They can become kind of mealy before you strain all the alcohol out. And when you have something freeze-dried coupled with the caramel, it can become quite difficult to strain. So we chose dehydrated because they're a little bit more pliable. They still have had the moisture removed, but their pliability indicates that there's still just a little tiny bit of moisture left inside. So when that happens, what's really important, and it's kind of a side note, but I think it's an important one. You want to start with at least a 40% ABV or an 80 proof vodka. Now, I think almost every vodka now is 40% and 80 proof.
Yes.
I haven't seen one in a long time that's 35, but for the case that maybe it exists, when you're using dehydrated, go a little bit higher on the alcohol. The minimum that we don't want to dip below is that 35%. And since we're introducing just maybe a small amount of moisture inside the dehydrated apples versus freeze-dried, you just want to account for that to make sure that you're always above 35%.
Well, and another reason is using the dehydrated is that the caramel absorbs so much of the alcohol, and so does freeze-dried fruit. And so it just takes up too much of the alcohol, and you're going to be adding alcohol, adding more fruit, and so we just found that it's just easier to go with the dehydrated, so you don't have more change outs. It's less expensive
and less work. It's easier to strain because really that's it, because the caramel, it just thickens as it's emulsifying or going through, right, and infusing itself. It just thickens. So it's just more time straining, more time waiting. Whereas if we have dehydrated instead of freeze-dried, it works great. So that's where we call for dried apples and not freeze-dried apples, because we in this case like the way the dried apples or the dehydrated apples work with the caramel. Really works well. Yep, they play together well.
They do. Okay, the last, well, not the last, because we still need vodka. The next ingredient is our 5 ounces of these caramel squares. It really is the hardest part of this recipe, is just unwrapping every single one of those caramel squares. It takes forever. So I already did that ahead of time, so you don't have to worry about watching me do that. It's 5 ounces. It's about 15, I'd say. And I'm just going to push it down a little bit to get rid of like the empty space. And then I'm going to add in the 8 ounces of vodka. We've got Svedka, and I'm just using what I have on hand.
Svedka is always like our go-to because of price and availability. And they sell it locally at the liquor store. Rain Cane's probably one of our favorites, but they don't sell it here in the liquor stores right now. And so this is one that is easy to get, and like Rain Cane comes at a pretty low price.
Yeah, it's not too
well, and others. Smirnoff is really good as long as it's not the artificial flavors.
Tito's.
Yep. We've got quite a few Tito's that are listed that we love.
Locals that we've tried too. Sugar House.
Sugar House. Clearwater has a really good vodka. Some local and distilleries here in Salt Lake and.
So this goes right up to the neck here. As time goes by, they'll dissolve and they'll start looking. This is one that I made a month ago, and you can see, the apple through there. And so in a month, it's gonna kind of look like this. And I'll check on it every so often. I'll shake it, and then I'll open it up. And see, since I've shaken it, the apples will come to the top. So I'll just take something, push it down, and then close it up and put it back in the cupboard. And then I'll come in a little bit later and then shake it up and check on it. I do like to shake. I don't really shake most of my extracts, but with the caramel, because I'm packing that in so much, once it dissolves, I want to get the vanilla, the apple, and the caramel all mixed together instead of it just kind of layering in there.
Yep. So this is an extract. So we'll put the lid on it. We'll wait. I think it's 2 months, right? And then in 2 months, we're going to come back and we're going to strain the caramel, and we're going to add in another half cup of apples just to get that apple taste out. You really got to work the apples to get that taste apple forward. And so a second change out we found is really important, to get a lot of that apple to come through with the caramel and the vanilla.
Because apple is a milder flavor than lemon or a citrus, right?
Yep.
So, or even some of the berries.
Yes,
right?
for sure.
So I went ahead and just put the labels on ahead of time. And so I've got my apple caramel vanilla on page 102. It says change out 12/20, and on the bottom I put the date that I started. So when I'm looking in my cupboards, I kind of know what the next step is. I also have a spreadsheet that I have on because all these lives, I get confused. So I have to keep a track on my computer to know what the next step is. But it's nice to have all of this on the jar, just looking at, you can look at right when you open the cupboard when you're doing all your shaking.
Yep. And a couple of other final points that I think are important along the lines of we're just kind of showing our way and what has worked for us. Can you make this with freeze-dried apples and just deal with the caramel? You can. You're just going to be working it a little bit more, and it's going to be a little harder in our experience to strain it out. Can you use fresh apples to make this if you wanted to use fresh apples like we did with our fresh peaches? And the answer is yes, you could. But you've got to add then the higher proof alcohol. You got to go to like an Everclear, the high proof rum that we talked about. And you just got to make sure that your proportions are consistent with not diluting the alcohol to below that 35%. So there's a little bit of math that you can do. So there are lots of roads to get you an apple vanilla and apple caramel finished extract. Lots of places to begin, and it'll all get you to the same finish line, just different routes and different experiences, right?
That's why we put it in the book, is that we wanted you to see kind of this middle place that's an option.
Yeah.
We have recipes that do the freeze-dried route, and we have recipes that do the overproof alcohol with fresh fruit.
Yeah.
And then now we're doing the dehydrated option. So we just want you to start thinking about what your options are and then run with it.
Well, and then also it opens up more seasons of being able to make things, because dehydrated apples or freeze-dried apples might be around longer than just apple season or peach season or whatever it is. So you can certainly try them all. There are a great many. Even as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking we'll get like those dehydrated apricots from Costco that I love, right? We've never made that one. That might be an interesting one to explore. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But as you're going through the grocery store and you see these different things that are available, hopefully you're starting to think that there's sort of a whole new world of extracts that you can explore based on what's available. But you just need to know the math. You need to know how the dried fruit, fresh fruit affects alcohol content.
Well, and if you have your own dehydrator, you don't know exactly how much
Moisture content.
Moisture is in
Yes.
it. So try it out with the vodka. And if you think it's not working, then definitely go to like the Everclear or the overproof rum.
Yep.
And try that with the dehydrated.
There you go. So those are the concepts. So we love this apple extract. We're gonna be excited to change it out 2 months and then taste test. Was it 6 months from now? I think it's a 6 month. Yes, 6 months from now. So it's a little bit of a journey. So we will see you all in April when we're taste testing the apple caramel. And by the way, that's the other point of extract making, is you have all these flavors now in your cabinet year round. You don't have to wait for the season because you have apple extract and peach extract, and it's coconut coming up, and grapefruit we'll be doing later, that are all available year round. And that's kind of fun. Strawberry, raspberry.
Fun. But then also when it comes around and you want to use those apple caramel recipes next season during that fall when it starts getting chilly, you're gonna be ready for it. I love putting it in my coffee in the morning when it's cold outside, and I just feel like it's part of fall.
Totally. Coffee, tea, fun thing.